Next question. The likelihood of Walmart opening its first stores in the district is being greeted with enthusiasm by some and dismay by others. What do you consider to be the pros and cons that need to be balanced, and what could the council do in this situation? Mr. Weaver?
If you look at Walmart's history with other jurisdictions, they have not had the best practices for livable wage, for employment benefits, for people that, I mean, they've had some practices in other jurisdictions which have been very hard to take. Particularly in a far more progressive city like Washington, D.C. Now, what they can offer is obviously an employment opportunity. And when you're looking at development and stagnant development, and you're looking at unemployment in east of the river at 30%, obviously Walmart would add like elements to that. But for me, as far as the council, particularly if we're going to go down this lane of using subsidies to try to draw in outside groups, you really are going to have to find a way to make sure that the people that are working in those jobs are not going to be discriminated against, that they're going to have livable wage jobs, and that Walmart is going to fulfill some energy policies that they've done in other jurisdictions.
Mr. Mara?
Sure. This relates directly to small independent businesses in the district. Everyone in this room wants small independent small independent businesses in the district. Yet, everyone on the council kind of does the opposite thing. If you look at our tax policies, if you look at our regulatory policies, virtually all of our tax policies are not as good as Maryland and Virginia. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to set up in Maryland or Virginia. And we need to reduce the burden on small independent business people. Looking at how we solve this unemployment crisis, oftentimes we rely too heavily on the government, but then when we build new government infrastructure, all those government jobs are taken by outsiders. We need to empower people who actually live in the district to start small independent businesses, and that is really the best route to saving ourselves. Government locally can only do so much more. We create a government entity, take St. Elizabeth's, that's mostly jobs from outside the district, except for maybe some small outlier businesses, but there'll be very few.
Mr. Patterson?
Very succinctly, the pros, I believe, is that we gain jobs. We bring into the district the convenience of being able to shop in your community, and we bring in new tax dollars. Some of the cons are basically we need Walmart to make sure that it has a livable wage. And then I visited Ward 4, I believe it was ANC 4A, just last week, and we have to look at the locations. I believe they're proposing 4. Not every place, every location is good for that community, because not every community wants that Walmart. So we have to look at them as individual stores, not so much as Walmart gets to take the lead and decide exactly where they're going to be, but the community decides where Walmart is going to be.
Mr. Mays?
Walmart coming into the city, it is quite nearly, I believe the numbers are something like twice as expensive for Walmart to build in the city as build out. It costs about $40 million versus $20 million. So we're looking at $40 million of construction, approximately 300 jobs per store. We need jobs in the city, and we need to be doing what we can to bring them in here. Mr. Mara said something about small independent business. I own a small independent business. I am a startup business. I do own a startup business. And quite frankly, startup businesses compete. People in ours, with a jurisdiction the size of ours, people live so close to the borders that they take our tax dollars and go to Maryland, Virginia, and spend them in Walmart. We need to recycle that money back through our city and keep our tax dollars here and take advantage of that.
Yeah, I have a follow-up for Mr. Orange. You represent or represented and live in Ward 5, and Ward 5 has more large retailers, big box stores than many other parts of the city at the moment. Do you think if you had the opportunity to entice some businesses to vacant spaces in Ward 5, would you prioritize a Walmart, which it's not one of the sites, or would you prioritize other types of businesses, smaller businesses? What would you prioritize?
Well, if you look at the development that I brought to Ward 5, I think it's been pretty balanced. It's, Home Depot, we don't have a lot of big boxes. We have Home Depot. That's the only big box. But we've set the foundation for Costco to come to Fort Lincoln. Walmart is trying to come to New York and Bladensburg Road. I think that is the wrong location. It's on our gateway to the city, and to have that big box take over that valuable land when there are other uses for that. I mean, how are you going to have a street? You want to have a streetcar coming up Bladensburg Avenue to come to Walmart? Well, if you go to Denver, I mean, the streetcar is there is to build, to grow around the streetcars, to get people excited and businesses to come. That model doesn't fit by having Walmart at Bladensburg and New York Avenue across from the National Arboretum. You want people to ride the streetcar to be going to the Arboretum, and at that particular site, in my view, you want housing, retail outlets. You want to have a nice mixed-use project where you're generating tons of revenue for the city. But to have Walmart come and take that big space, I think is not in our best interest of the District of Columbia.
Thank you.
Thank you.